Coach, and I am live. Let me see where the link is because I want to email people. Why can't I see it? Hold on a second. I'm going live today while I'm doing this to share three tips, three things you need to fix on your resume tonight, on your macro social work resume tonight to start applying to macro jobs tomorrow. Now, earlier I could see myself on my YouTube channel. Oh, there I am. Hold on a second. Let me send this link out to people because I shared these tips Tuesday night on my other social media platform, on my Instagram page, and it was a game changer for a lot of people. It helped them understand where they were going wrong on their resume. I'm like, I'm gonna run this back, but I'm gonna do it on YouTube. I'm sending this link. Hold on, y'all. I was like, I'm gonna send it on YouTube, or do it on YouTube. And I thought I was just gonna record it and post it. And then like a few moments ago, I was like, I'm going to go live in my Micro to Macro Career Accelerator, my paid group coaching program. I was like, I'm gonna go live in there and talk to them tonight. And I was like, I'm gonna leave them alone. They on break because the weekend holiday is coming up, and today was office hours. I was like, they need a rest. They've been working hard this week. So I was like, I should try to go live on YouTube. And I'm live. I did a test run earlier and I'm here. Now the thing is that I'm streaming through um Zoom. Maybe I should have did it a different way. Let me turn this down. I'm streaming through, I'm reading some stuff, so I'm also setting up logistics, but I'm streaming through Zoom, so I can't see the chat in case somebody does decide to read my email and chime on in. So I'm trying to set up my screen in a way where I can see the chat and still talk to y'all on Zoom. Okay, I think I have it. I think I have it. This is our first time doing this. Next time, we'll just go live on YouTube. No, next time I want to set it up where I can stream in all places. But anyway, so I wanted to share three. So if someone comes, they come. If they don't, they don't. You watch the replay back. If you catch this on replay, drop in the chat hashtag replay. Oh, I couldn't name my thing. Let me name this video so people know what we're talking about. But tonight I'm going to share three things you need to fix on your macro resume tonight so you can start applying tomorrow. Let's see if this will let me do this. Will it let me? Will it let me put in a title? I think it will. Hold on, y'all. I think we in business. If you're coming into the Zoom room, well, not Zoom room, YouTube room, this is so new. Look at me doing new things. I can do new things. If you're coming into the YouTube room, we are live. Drop in the chat where you're logging in from today, your city, state, country, because I do have people that are from other countries. Um, Let me hit save because I want y'all to be able to know what we're talking about as you come in. Okay, okay, you can see it. Look at me. And so we're gonna jump into it. Well, let me get this back. I'm going to be sharing three tips, three things that you need to fix on your macro social work resume tonight so you can start applying to macro jobs tomorrow. So the first thing is, of course, my alarm will go off after all of the logistical setup. The first thing I want to say is that you need to be able to sit in an honest place with yourself to critically assess your resume, right? I want you to be brutally honest with yourself when you look at your resume and look at it from critical eyes. Act like you are a professor, teacher, grading a paper, and you have your red pen. And be ready to really identify and point out where you can do things better based on these three things that I'm getting ready to share with you tonight. If you're coming into the YouTube room, I'm live on YouTube for the first time. Drop in the chat where you are in the world today or what type of social work you are, all of the things, and I can tailor my examples to your specific area of work. But the first thing I need for you to do is be brutally honest with yourself. This is what I always ask people, right? Because what I've learned over the years is sometimes we're not always comfortable being brutally honest with ourselves. I want you to print out a copy of your resume when you start conducting this review. And the first thing you want to look at is format and structure of your resume, right? You start at the top of your paper, and I want you to read every word, every sentence that you have on your resume from top to bottom, and honestly ask yourself, well, there are a few things you're looking for while you're reading through. Was it easy? Was it a readable document? Were you able to go from top to bottom without any issues? Oh, somebody messaging me. Who is this? Brooklyn? Oh, Swift is in Brooklyn. ITM coach. Oh, y'all love those acronyms. What is the ITM coach? Break that down for me, Swift. Graduating with my MSW next week with a concentration of community organizing. I love that. Congratulations. Congratulations next week. How exciting. And you're going straight into community organizing. I love it. I love it. Congratulations. Welcome to the field. So the first thing you want to do, keep dropping. Where y'all logging in from? What you do? What do you do at social work wise? I can tailor my examples to your situation. Swift, tell me what ITM means. That way I can know what it means and maybe formulate an example towards your situation. So the first thing is you want to read your document from top to bottom, and you are looking to see, were you able to read from top to bottom and clearly understand what you wrote? That's the first thing, right? This is still under format and structure. We want to assess our document for format and structure structure. Is it readable? Do you have is it not flowing right? Do you go from one part to another part of your resume and you're like, oh, I really don't know what that means. I don't really understand that, right? Is the visual format of your resume appealing to the eye? Does it want to make you read it? Swift says the ITM is the integrated treatment model, basically teaching youth at a residential treatment center crisis survival skills. Oh, I love that. I love that. You see, I will keep asking questions because now I'm curious, how are you going to integrate that into community organizing? Do you want to teach practitioners, parents to be supportive in those situations? But you want to scan from the top to the bottom to see, does it flow? Does everything it looks like it's in its right place? Because one of the things I always say, and if you're new to me, I think I'm one of the funniest people that I know, right? I will make you laugh, but I'm also speaking truth at the same time. Many social workers, your resumes read like you wrote your last minute grocery list on the back of a receipt. You know how you sit in front of the grocery store and your phone is like on the last 5% or 10%. You didn't bring your charger that day, which is a no-no when you work like in safety jobs, like where safety is the number one thing. But anyway, let's go with the example. And you're like, I only have 10%, but I need to just go in here and get these few items just to make this recipe tonight. And you pull out that old crumbly receipt out of the middle of your console and you write out your grocery list. So you go in there and stick to the list. You're like, my budget is $50. All I'm going to do is go in and get some of this and some of this and some of this. And you want to write a list. That's how y'all resume look. Right? It looks very last minute. Many of the social workers whose resumes I look at, they look very last minute. Like there was no pre-planning or forethought put into it. Right. And so when you're assessing your resume, your current resume for format and structure, you want to make certain that it flows, that it keeps, that the people can easily go through it without fighting for their lives. Right. You know how you hear people who give career information to universal career seekers, that's what we call it in workforce development, and they're always like, hiring managers and recruiters only read your resume for 20 seconds, whatever the thing is. That's because they're fighting for their lives to get through people's resumes, because honestly, people's resumes are not that great, right? So you want to read through your resume to ensure that you can read through it. I always give the equivalent to, you know how like when your participants have handwritten their phone number on something and you're trying to call them from that phone number and you're like, is that an 8? Is that a 7? Is that a 6? Is that a 4? And at some point you just want to stop because now your head is hurting and you don't want to work that hard to figure out what they wrote down. That's the equivalent with a resume. So your primary goal is to ensure that your document is reader friendly, that the people can read it, that they can understand what you wrote. And the first way to do that is to ensure that your format and structure flows, right? Doesn't make sense logically when looking at it on paper. Morgan, good evening, Marthea. Hey, Morgan, how you doing? It's Shirley, my granddaughter, put her name on my always good to catch you live. Oh, okay, hey Shirley. Oh, I love that. Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm live for the first time, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me. I just did it on the spur of the moment. It's gonna be good. So the first thing you need to assess for is format and structure. Everybody write that down. The second thing you need to critically assess your resume for is word count. That's how I'm categorizing it. So I'm going to give you an example. Okay, Shirley, I'm glad you made it. So I'm going to give you an example, but it's a true example, right? Again, I think I'm funny. Don't y'all take it personal. Just take the tips and fix the thing, right? So social workers, many social workers write their resume like they're writing case notes. Like I can always tell what type of case noter you are. I know that's not a word, but we're gonna go with it. What type of case notes you keep based on how you write your resume. Right? It's always one or two ways. It ain't never in between. I low-key believe that we may struggle with balance at times, because I know I struggle with balance. We either do it all the way or we're not going to do it at all. So on a lot of social workers, what resumes, what I see is that they give too much information on their macro resume, right? They give too much information. So you know how you write your case notes and you document everything. The appointment, I sent the appointment letter on Wednesday, March 22nd. On March 24th, I'm just making this up. On March 24th, the person came to their appointment. I issued them a bus pass, a child care, like you give play by play by play in your case notes. That's how many social workers write their resume. They have way too much information that's irrelevant to a macro social worker, right? So an indicator that your resume is too in the weeds is if you have something on there like managed or like kept case files or use Microsoft Outlook. You don't need that on your resume because that is synonymous with case management, direct practice work, meaning people already know on a certain level what your duties are based on your job title. So we don't need to rewrite that in a bullet. What we need to write, though, is your experiences, your high level duties, right? Over and beyond conducting biopsychosocial exams. If you have managed a caseload and conducting a biopsychosocial exam on your resume, on your macro resume, that's a large reason why you're probably not getting hits. Or if you are, they are not for the types of jobs that you want, right? But I'm going to get into that in the third thing that I want you all to fix on your resume, which is falls under tailoring your resume. So the first thing is you have too many words, right? The other is I've seen social workers who had too few words, where it's literally like 3 or 4 words. And it's like, that ain't enough to tell nobody about nothing. So it's always either or. I don't never really see the middle in the in between. It's either they have way too much information, like they're writing case notes, or way too few. And the ones that always have the too few words, I'm like, I know you get monitored for your case files all the time because they are not in compliance if you're using only 3 to 4 words. So you want to look at your current resume to see, do you have too few words or too many words? And you need to have a happy medium. The goal should be, what I always teach my coaching clients, is to be concise but detailed. And the first time I tell them that, they're like, how can you do that? You can do it. You can be concise but detailed. Like a glaring red flag for me when I know people have used Chat GPT on their resume, which is you should not be doing it. But if you do, is that Chat GPT will give you a bunch of different ways to say the same thing. It's just saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's just like a bunch of filler words. So you want to be careful of that. Liz says, yes, I want to teach those skills in the community. I'm still trying to figure out how I am going to integrate the ITM and CO. I just have so many ideas, just trying to figure out. I love that. Surely, federal government resume, you must make it lengthy and explain everything exactly. But I don't teach people how to get federal jobs. So I'm not talking about federal resumes at all. I talk about macro social work jobs, which are typically with non-governmental agencies. That's who my people get jobs with. But you're correct. Federal resumes, they want to know every job you ever had in life and every duty. But I don't help people get federal jobs because if you want a federal job, you can just go to their free workshops and they'll teach you how to apply for their jobs. So the second is word count. And actually, it's not just federal jobs. All governmental jobs want to know every job you had in life, every duty. Even in 1999, when you filed files and all of the things, they want to know that. The third is tailoring your resume. So the first thing you need to fix is format and structure or assess for. The second is word count. Shirley says, gotcha, thanks. You're welcome, Shirley. The second is word count. The third thing is tailoring your resume. So I always get that question from people. It usually comes up every few months around, should I be tailoring my resume for every job? Yes, you should. You should not be hitting apply with your same tired resume that you used to apply for your first case management job. Why? Because you have evolved, you have grown, you have had way more experience since then. And also macro employers don't care about your case management work. What they do care about are your experiences that impact the work that they're doing. So when I say tailor your resume, you want to speak to what are they doing in their work that you have either been a part of on the local level or seen or received training on that can support what they're doing. And you have to make certain that you're updating your resume for each job. An example that I always give is like, for somebody is usually, well, what if I'm applying at the same company and it's the same job title? Should I still be tailoring my resume? And my response is yes, because I've seen jobs in the same organization with the same job title. And when you read through the job description, they're talking about, let's say, children, and the other job is talking about elders. And if you're submitting your tailored resume that's talking about children to the elder job, or if you're talking about if they're looking for someone to do project management work, I always go with that standard example. If they're looking for project management work and you're talking about where you have done advocacy, that's not the same thing. So you should be tailoring your resume to ensure that you are highlighting your project management experience or your experience with children over the experience with the elders. That's what tailoring is. It's ensuring that you're talking about what they're talking about. Because the bonus of being a case manager, that's why I work with y'all, because we as case managers, we get so much experience. I always say that employers are overworking us, but if you are strategic enough, it really is a gold mine, those jobs, because you have so much experience in so many different areas that you can really pivot into any kind of job you want, other than something that requires like high level credentialing, like a medical doctor or something like that. You could pivot wherever you want to based on what you've done in your case management job. Right. So example I gave on the live on Tuesday is that I'm not interested in like, and this is more of a social work admin example than a macro example, but I'm going to use it because I don't have another one right now. If I was interested in like quality assurance or program compliance, if I was interested in overseeing that on like a state level, right, I would be able to get a job doing that, because as a case manager, I was required to monitor my case files on a weekly and a monthly basis according to the state standards. So if I wanted to go from my case management job and workforce development, my first ever case management job, and pivot into the compliance part of our state over those types of programs, I could have. Ironically enough, I did. I pivoted into policy, but I was writing policy. I wasn't monitoring their case files. But I was able to pivot into that because I use the policy every day. And that is a better macro example. I use the policy every day in the program in order to serve my career seekers, in order to know, okay, how many volunteer hours do you need to be doing per month based on the state calculation. I had to calculate that. I had to ensure that my files, that I was seeing my participants in the 24 hours for the initial assessment, right? That was all in the state and regional policies and procedures. So I had to be using those things. I also had to monitor my file to ensure that I was giving them timely transitional child care referrals. I was using my compliance hat, even though my title wasn't compliance. So if I wanted to transition into like a compliance role, even in that in that local level, I could have, because I was doing it as a case manager. Even though we had a whole program compliance person in our center, my work still supported her work. So I say that to say that a lot of people are like, oh, I hate case management. I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm always like, it's a gold mine. If you have a strategic angle to it, if you have a career plan, that's why I get on the internet all the time talking about having a plan, because you could take what you've done in that job and essentially pivot into anything that you want to do. It's all about how you identify your experiences and then put it on paper. So the 3 things that I shared that you need to fix on your resume today, on your macro social work resume today, so you can apply to macro jobs tomorrow. The first is format and structure. Please, please. If y'all on here, that means y'all have engaged with something of mine. If you got the email to come here, if you ain't learned nothing else from me, your resume is your first way that employers get to know you. If it's subpar, they ain't gonna never call you back. So I want y'all to start taking time and really investing in the quality of work of your resume. And then I think I gave this example the other night on Instagram. I want you all to start putting the same amount of time and effort in your resume as you did your degree, as you did your certification, as you did whatever other credentials that you have, because that is your first representative. So if you're treating it as an afterthought, if you're treating it like that grocery list that I talked about earlier, you won't get called back. So that's why I wanted to come on and give you 3 things that you need to quickly like do a checkup on your resume. Format and structure. It should be readable. It should be readable. It should flow, right? You shouldn't have any graphics on there. I always tell my coaching clients, your resume is not the time to be artist #1. It's not the time to get creative. It's not the time to put colors, pictures. We are not graphic designers. I'm not going to get into the whole conversation about the applicant tracking system, because how I teach my coaching clients, we don't worry about the applicant tracking system, because I teach them how to create a format and structure that is readable by the computer system and a human. But for you all tonight, I would just say focus on your format and structure. Actually, the plainer it is, the better. I'll just say it that way. We don't need any fancy like fonts. Just stick to Times New Roman 12. Just like you're writing a research paper for your graduate program. The second thing is word count. Again, if you're just joining us, please watch the replay. Word count. You want to make certain that you're not using too many words and that you're not using too few of words. It should be a happy medium. My rule of thumb is concise but detailed. concise but detailed. If you are getting into the weeds and if you have a bullet, just like quick reference for you, if you have a bullet on there about using Microsoft Outlook or using Word or being proficient in Word or managing your case files and your caseloads, you are too far in the weeds for a macro resume. Come out of the weeds. Come out of the weeds. And then the third one is tailoring your resume. Ensure that you are speaking to what they are doing. How has what you done on the micro level support what they're trying to do on the macro level? And so I gave you all a real example of my I think that was like my third or fourth macro job. I got that because I had worked as a career counselor, also known as a case manager. That's how I used to refer myself, a workforce development career counselor on the micro level. And then I applied to be one of two policy consultants on the state level for the same workforce development program. So on my resume, I talked about how I used the policy, how I used it, how I even informed it. I changed it a little. I informed the changing of it in my region, how I informed the changing of it in the delivery of the services, because it was a whole hybrid program based on my own professional interest. I talked about how I used it in my daily work, right? And how I stayed abreast of policy related changes. I didn't go on my resume talking about managing a caseload. For my clinical social workers that's interested in macro, that includes not putting on there conducting biopsychosocial exams, because macro employers are not delivering direct practice unless you are targeting a clinical macro employer, which is very, very rare. Out of 15 cohorts, I have only had one macro social worker interested in, like, everyone comes in talking about those types of things, but once I teach them what all you can do in the world of macro other than policy, it always changes. But I only had one who was like, she wanted to do something that was clinically connected to school because she was a school social work, things that she saw in the K through 12 setting. So if it's not connected to that, you want to ensure that you're talking about what they're talking about. And how you do that is by reading the job description and being clear about their scope of work. And then you think critically about what have you done that can support what they're doing. And that won't be everything you ever did as a case manager. It's impossible, right? It probably may be 10% of what you did in one role. It may be 5% of what you did in another. It may be 50% of what you did, but it will never be all of it, because as case managers, they have us do everything under the sun, right? And so those are the three things that you need to fix on your macro resume tonight, or at least assess for fixing, and then fix it tomorrow and start hitting apply. And this is for my people who have been applying and not getting hits, right? Because they are out there. And it's most likely because of your resume. Because what I always say is, as case managers, you have the experience. You just have to, that's why people hire me as their career coach. You have to be taught how to uncover it. But these three things are the first steps to doing that. Actually, is everything that you need to do it. I just gave y'all the whole play. I told you how to tailor your resume. I told you what to look for, what you need to add, what type of experiences you need to focus on. So I encourage you to watch this replay back, because you have everything you need to get you a win. So are there any questions about what I shared tonight? Was this helpful? Tell me in the Zoom, in the chat, and that way I know, okay, is me going live a good thing? Should I go live more on YouTube than Instagram? Because I recently learned that a lot of my people don't have social media, and they consider social media to be Instagram, but not YouTube. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll come on YouTube a little more. But tell me in the chat, was that helpful? What questions do you have about the three things that I shared? Let me know. Are you going to look at your resume tonight or tomorrow to fix the things? What's going on? What you're thinking? What you're feeling? at y'all. Y'all are in the building. I love it. I'm about to go live on YouTube more. I know it's a delay, so I'm gonna wait a few moments. Also, if you want to learn more about like macro jobs, I encourage you to get my free e-course. If you're here, that means that you have my free e-course, but tell a friend to tell a friend to get the free e-course. It's a great place to start to learn even more. Take like all the things that I gave you tonight, and I also tell you about like industries and jobs and salaries and all of the things. So you could take what I gave you tonight and then start looking for jobs tomorrow and hitting apply. Okay. So I don't see any questions. I'm assuming that it was helpful because y'all are real quiet. Did I break your brain? I probably did because I love to give information. So sometimes I have to pull back from all of the information. Okay, so I'm gonna go. Thank y'all for joining me. Happy macro career plan.